Welcome to the Real Powerhouse Podcast. I'm your host, BJ Gramillion, and today we have Cody Hofhine with us with Joe Homebuyer. And Cody actually has a really cool history in real estate specifically. I know that he's got obviously a lot more going on before real estate, which I do want to dive into. But before Joe Homebuyer, I believe you're with Wholesaling Inc. Is that correct?
Yeah, as a co-founder of Wholesaling Inc., me and Tom Kroll
how long ago was
hearts and souls into that place.
And that was so you ended up selling that one, right?
Yeah, in 2020. 2020 we sold, and then just from there it was like trying to figure out. And I'll tell you though, in fact, this is part of the story. We'll get into it, but there was a season after selling it where I was lost. So
really?
We'll get into that. We'll dive into all that fun stuff.
Man,
before we found
wait.
Joe
you guys,
Homebuyer.
This is a celebrity within the real estate industry. This is someone that, when he reached out and said that he'd be willing to do it, I was so pumped. In fact, I went out and bought a bunch of new gear. I got some new lights. I got some new microphones, and and it's funny because before we came on here, I was scrambling, trying to test out all this different stuff. And then I ended up being like, you know what? I don't trust it. I don't want to bomb this. So we're just going to go back to the old gear, and maybe the next time I'll get to play with some of the toys. But no, super grateful to have you on.
Hey, believe me when I say this, it's an honor to do these. You're just a great dude. First and foremost, come on. Like at the end of the day, this is an honor. Like this is an absolute honor. I love doing this stuff. And I just hope that I can bring some kind of value to your audience, and that we'll just have a great time while we're doing this. But that's the byproduct. We get to hang out and just have fun, but hopefully we can connect and change some lives here.
Yep. 100%. Could not agree more. So, let's go ahead and dive in. I actually want to learn a little bit more about, who Cody was before Wholesaling Inc., before getting into real estate. How did you get into real estate? Tell us a little about your background.
Man, let's, you and lead and guide me if you're like, okay, now step forward, or, hey, let's go forward back. I'm willing to go wherever you need to go. But prior to real estate, so let's go back a little bit. My whole life, I've had entrepreneurship blood. Let's start there. I think that's a great start. Is I knew I wasn't going to be a great employee. Like I tried it. I tried working at, there's a local, maybe it's a chain, Wingers, when I was 15 years old. It was awful. I was like, this is awful. I'm a hostess. Like I was sitting people at their dining table, and I was like, this is not fun. Then I worked at Eddie Bauer, and I was like, they're telling me like, you have to be here at this time and you have to do this every single day. And the next day it's at this time, and it's the same thing over and over. And I'm like, man, like slip my wrist. Like I can't do this. Like, this is not me. And so now just fast forwarding, my dad was an entrepreneur. His whole life was in construction. And so I got to work with him, but more importantly, I got to see what an entrepreneur got to do. So I would say, if I have to give credit where credit's due, my dad owned his calendar. Now at 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, I don't know those terms. Looking back, I'm like, man, my dad owned his calendar. All I got to see was, as a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, is a dad that was present, a dad that was there, a mom and a dad that was always there. I shouldn't just say my dad. My mom and dad were always there. We always went on vacations. We always hung out. We were able to go wherever we want, whenever we wanted, because my dad owned his calendar. And so I loved that. I loved everything about that. And then he would bring us on the job site like at 8 years old. And no, these weren't like child labor laws. This was like, hey, pick up the screws on the floor and I'll pay you a penny per screw that you pick up. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, now that you've done that, I want you to change out some of these light bulbs. And now that you're good at doing that, like, let's pull out the paintbrush. Like, I'm going to teach you how to paint now. And so we got to the point where we could mirror my dad and do everything he was doing, setting tile, plumbing, electrical, all your finish work. So all the stuff that like looks beautiful in the home, I got really good at it because my dad was just a master at it, and he let us fail on the project. So entrepreneurship was in our blood. That's how it all started. And I even at some point had to leave my dad and say, Dad, I can no longer work here. I need to start my own thing. But lead and guide me on how you want to go from there. But that's kind of the past of my grown-up childhood. Grew up with entrepreneurial blood because my dad was an entrepreneur.
I love so much about that. No, that's super cool. So real estate is clearly, a path for someone with, I guess, cut from your cloth, right? Where you don't want to have set hours. You want to be able to pave your own way. I think a lot of us, without even really knowing it, just somehow stumble into it. Like those of us that are kind of the outcasts that would never fit in a certain mold. I'm an individualist, when you take those personality
predictive
assessments
index.
And it's, what are you? Have you ever taken that test, by the way?
Yeah, I'm a Maverick.
Index? Maverick. There you go.
Yep.
Yep. So Maverick, individualist. We're just the type of people that would be absolutely the worst employees. We get fired, within a couple of weeks for sure. And so it's just funny how we end up just stumbling into real estate. It's not like we went to college, or had a career path in it. So how did you stumble into real estate?
Oh my goodness. This is where I have to, I'm grateful for the question. And the real answer is and then we'll kind of go through it. There is a creator to this earth. There's a creator to every one of us. And I would be lying saying I stumbled upon it, I found it, as much as guidance to real estate. And it wasn't a quick guidance. It was a become individual, like become someone better each and every day. And these little steps led to real estate. So what it really started when I left my dad, it was actually back in 2009, the end of 2009, the economy was crashing. And so construction took a hit. My dad's business took a massive hit. My dad's the kind of guy, my mom and dad, that kept paying us weekly, me and my brother. And I always thought, this is absolutely admirable, but I can't do this to my dad. I can't have my mom and dad's bank account dwindle when there's no work coming in. I just didn't feel right about it. And so I told my dad, and it was the hardest thing. I remember crying, sitting there crying with my mom and dad saying, I love working for you guys. You guys are the greatest people in the world, but I can't just get money for free. Like, I'm going to go get a sales job. You take care of Shane, like do those things, my brother, like you do those things, and maybe there'll be a path to cross back, but while times are bad, I'm going to go see what I can do. So I started selling vinyl fencing. Step one is I meet Mark Stubler. He was the number one. Mark Stubler is my business partner. He is the number one sales rep of this vinyl fencing company. I end up getting a job at this vinyl fencing company. We're both selling vinyl fencing, and I'm the master of R&D, not research and development, but rip off and duplicate. And I just align myself with great people. And so one of my skill sets is I can connect with someone really quick and become their best friend. And Mark and I became best friends really quick. And it wasn't just because he's a great salesman that I'm like, oh man, I want to become a best friend with him. Mark's an incredible human being. Like that guy is just a great human being. So I wanted someone like him in my life, but more importantly, he was the top salesman. So I started just mirroring what he did, and I became the rookie of the year. I sold the most in the company besides Mark. And let's forward it. Along the way, I'm selling vinyl fencing, and this is where these steps come in. You look hindsight and you're like, man, there was a creator to this plan. I just happened to, I guess, be inspired enough to follow this plan. Step two is, while I'm selling vinyl fencing, all these individuals were like insurance agents. I don't know why, the vast majority of my leads, but I had people that were like, why do you sell vinyl fencing? Like, you're only going to be selling this, and then once I buy this vinyl fence, I'll never do business with you again. You said this product's 30 years. And I was like, that's true. And he's like, you should do insurance. Like, you'd be great at insurance. And as long as they keep redoing their insurance, you just keep getting paid every year and you just keep growing this book. And I was like, man, that sounds pretty cool. So I ultimately got into insurance. I started insurance in 2011. I started an insurance agency. So step two. And I'm there, and it was rough. BJ, it was rough. It was so hard. And if we're going to talk about some failures, because I know you like to talk about how failures turn into successes and wins in this podcast. Year one, I had 2 kids at the time, mortgage payment. Thank goodness we didn't have any other debt. But year one, I worked my tail off as an entrepreneur opening this agency, and I made $19,000 year one. And wow, that instant shake is catching up like quick, right? Like what you just did was, this doesn't add up. How do you take care of your family? How do you put food on the table? This is where the story gets great. And this is where my life takes off, is not during the flaw of $19,000 coming in. It's who I met during that time that makes this story turn out amazing. As hard as it was to not make it, 19,000 is not enough. You just don't have enough money. Me and my wife never told anyone. We didn't show it on our faces that we were broke. there was an individual in the neighborhood we lived in that would just coincidentally come by our house, and he'd knock on the door and leave like ice cream, or he'd leave a plate of cookies. And every time there'd be X amount of dollars connected to the bottom of it. How does he know this stuff? I have no idea, BJ, to this day. This obviously chokes me up as I think about it, because this is the turning page in my life. Is I get this guy that somehow taps into, these guys don't have enough money. We didn't tell him. So he was in tune with something. And it happened to be enough money to get by month by month. And I just remember thinking, one day, as I have a growth in, and I knew one day we would earn money. I didn't doubt that. I said, that's the guy I want to be. I want to be the one that always looks back and helps bring people up. I want to be the one that is so aware of others' needs that I can help fulfill those needs. And so I learned so much during this time. I learned that date night didn't have to be an expensive restaurant. Date nights for me and my wife was holding hands in a park and just enjoying a walk. And if we were lucky, because we had a little bit of money, we'd buy literally an ice cream cone from Arctic Circle, and sometimes we'd have to share it. And I still look back at that as like my favorite dates, my absolute favorite dates, because of what we learned during that time. And we learned to just be good stewards of the little money we had, because it was very little. But we also, if it wasn't for that low of 19 grand, if it wasn't for that moment, I don't know if this next step would have taken place in our life. Me and Wendy, literally, we were just praying, and we were praying to God. We're believers of God, and we're praying, and we're like, when, not if, but when we make money, like, we're always going to take care of our family, but then we're going to use this to build other people up and help them out. And this is our promise to God, is what we were saying in this prayer. And it's interesting. Wendy's family is going through a crisis, and like financially. The brother was going to go serve a 2-year mission for the church, and they didn't have enough money to put him out. He needed about $500 for a bike. That's all that was left. Me and Wendy look in our bank account. We have $500. Now, mind you, this is when we still have no money, but we had $500 in a bank account. And I'm like, Wendy, like, we look at each other like, there's no coincidence that these numbers add up. Let's try our faith. Like, let's test this out. So we buy the bike, and we were like, oh man, we're down to zero. But we said we would help other people. So what little money we had, the next day I go into the insurance company, and this guy walks in. He says, I need my commercial business policy quoted out. So I'm like, yeah, come on in, I'll quote it out. We quoted out. It took like an hour because it's a pretty robust business. The premium was 20 grand. I've written home policies and auto policies for like $500, $1,000. This was 20,000. So I'm like, even scared to present it. I'm like, I don't know what your current rates are, but this company's really good, and it's 20 grand. He's like, wow, that's actually better than my quote by quite a bit. And does it cover this? Does it cover this? I'm like, let's get on with the underwriter. So we do this. Anyways, he goes with this. We would get 10% commission. So I pay out $500, and about $2,500 comes back the next day. Is there a coincidence behind that? I just don't believe in coincidences. These are the steps. These are the process that were part of my life, because I believe we can have whatever we want if we're willing to become what it takes to have that desire, that thing that you want. And this was all about becoming someone better. So BJ, I don't want to take up, I love hearing some of your questions and some of your feedback on this, but really these are all steps, and everything had to be led to, hey, we can get you to this next step, but Cody, you've got to become someone better to get to this next step. And as I've taken on this challenge of just becoming simply a better individual each and every day, I've been blessed with some awesome opportunities. And please don't take that wrong that I'm a great guy. Maybe there's opportunities that I should be further ahead in life, and maybe I'm actually slow right now. But I feel like I'm pretty fortunate, and I'm very committed to becoming someone better and remaining faithful to that promise that me and Wendy made to God. And that is to bless other people's lives as we make money.
Man, powerful stuff. That is so good. I love that, because I'm with you. And honestly, I'm guilty a lot of times of just thinking, well, it just kind of happened, just stumbled into it. But you're right. When you start to actually pick it apart, to your point, there's not really coincidences in life. I could not agree more with that, and it's just funny how, and certain things happen at certain times. I look at our business. So 2022 obviously was was difficult for us. And I think a lot of people, it was a hard time in real estate because the interest rates and everyone stopped, adjusted. And there was a period of time that it was rough.
Yeah.
And that was, during a time where, the business, ended up kind of slowing down. We decided to change course, and all those kind of things happen. And it was interesting because, I mean, there were so many properties that we owned at the time that just got stuck holding the bag on. And, you look at those interest payments on 15 homes or flips, and they're not moving, and you're having to dump more and more money into them. And every day you're just like praying, man, what's going to happen? And it's so cool though, because you hate trials. I hate them. I don't look out for them. I'm not praying for them I'm not that good of a person. I'm not the guy that's like, give me more. But when it does come along, it's so important that, we do stop and think and look around us and realize, because during that time, it was every month. If this does not close, we do not have another month. And then something would close. And it's like, okay, great. The following month, if this does not happen, we are out. And it's so funny because it happened so many times that it got to the point where it's like, okay, it very clearly is not a coincidence, and I think that was the point that, Heavenly Father just kept on like impressing on us, is like, hey, remember, this is a lesson for you. And then I think the other thing too that's just interesting is, it also forced us to finally look and be like, hey, where we're living right now, is it where we need to be? And we ultimately decided that we needed to move. But again, it was because everything pretty much had to go wrong, and like absolutely show us without question, 100%, like, yes, you have to do this,
Yeah.
And sometimes he needs to do that. Sometimes you have a gentle reminder and you listen. If you're thick-headed like me, sometimes it takes, a whole heck of a lot of, over and over and over again being told this is what you need to be doing. And so,
Yeah.
Man, I love that story. So I'm curious. Okay. So, the insurance, was that stepping stone. And then how did that then lead to the real estate?
Step 4, step 5, or wherever this is, right?
Yeah,
like the next step is, call it inspiration, call it whatever. I wasn't doing it to get into real estate. In my mind, I'm always thinking, how do I grow my business? That business was insurance. It wasn't real estate. So I had two thoughts that come to my mind. I'm like, well, mortgage people always are doing loans, so I can get with homeowners. And if I can provide a great service to them where I can provide insurance for their people, maybe I'll grow that way. So I had mortgage lenders sending me a bunch of business, and that was great. But it was an active business. I had to go visit them and just always, they were front of mind. And then they would send me deals, and then I'd try and cross-sell them into autos. But the other thought was, why don't I insure like real estate investors? I bet they have a ton of money. This is crazy. This is my thought. I'm like, I bet they have a ton of money. I bet they have a ton of homes. They have the fanciest cars, the fanciest houses. Like their premiums are probably going to be through the roof. And this was some of the thoughts I had. And so I looked on Google. I'm like, where can I meet real estate investors? And it was Real Estate Investor Association. And there was one in Salt Lake, and it met once a month. And so I'd go, and this is how like I had to be so strategic. They're like, hey, yeah, the first time's free. After that, it's $100 for the year. And I remember sitting there thinking, do I have $100 like to spend on this for a whole year? I mean, this is really how bad it was. And I just mustered up the courage. I swiped a credit card and like, I got at least 30 days. Like, let's at least get some premium in to cover this $100. And I started going to these from 2012. I'm at this local real estate investor association. And I didn't get into real estate, by the way, till 2015. Meaning I'm going there for 2012, 13, 14, and part of 15 just to acquire business for insurance. However, May of 2015, it's still, there's high months and low months. So there's months where you got, man, this is a lot of renewals and it's a great month. And then there's months like the summer months, they're awful. No one wants to talk insurance during that time. And so it's just, those were your low paychecks. And so it was always a roller coaster. Some good months of pay, some bad months. I come home in May of 2015, early from work, because I just wanted to surprise my wife. And I came home, and the surprise was all mine. She was crying at the table, and I remember walking over to her, and I'm like, Wendy, what's going on? And she finally looks up, and she's like, do we put food on the table, or do we pay for the mortgage this month? And I'm just thinking, I'm like, I'm 5 years into this journey and there's still not enough money. And she didn't make me feel bad or guilty, by the way. I felt that on my own because I'm the provider. And so again, not coincidence that Salt Lake Real Estate Investor Association is literally the next evening from that conversation. I go there, but I went there with a kind of a new set of ears, a new way of thinking, maybe you'd call it. And as I was there, this guy stands up and he says, "Hey, I just found this deal. Really cool thing about this is I put it under contract, and all I did is assign this contract, and I made $29,000 in 3 days." And I'm just like, "Wait, what? Like I made 19 grand in 365 days. You're telling me I can do 29 in 3 days? Like this sounds like a cool thing." These conversations have been happening for 4 years. I just never listened. Now I'm listening. I go up to the individual and say, "Will you teach me?" He says, "Cody, you're one of the most driven individuals I've ever met. Like if I teach you, I'm teaching my biggest competitor. Like I already know that. I just don't feel comfortable doing that." I wasn't mad. I literally was like, that's okay. Like, thank you for being honest, because he was such a good individual and I insured all of his stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is where, again, now it goes to the next step. Next step is I go online. I happen to come across this podcast where Tom Kroll is on. And I was like, oh man, this guy, like, he's just one of those like goofy character guys that's like always excited. And so I call him up. I'm like, "Hey, I'd love to be coached by you." And he's like, "Okay, it's going to be X amount of dollars." And I'm like, "I don't have the money. Trust me. I feel good about this. I'm going to go get a credit card, however long that takes. I'll call you back when the credit card's in the mail." So credit card comes. My wife's on board. She's like, "Whatever you've done, like I'm here to support." So I get the credit card. I call him up. I swipe it. And a year later, he calls me. He's like, "Dude, how's the student outperforming the master? Like, what is it that you're doing?" And he's like, "I need you to be part of this. Like, we got to grow this. You're doing something great. Like, together we can grow this." So we become 50-50 partners in Wholesaling Inc. in 2016. And from there, we just blew this thing up to be, I believe, in a very humble way, the biggest wholesaling coaching program in the nation. And it was because our heart and souls were in it. We were not doing it for the money. We cared about every individual that signed up with us. And we wouldn't just lead the horse to the water. We'd bend over and scoop the water if we had to. Like, we would do whatever we could to make someone win. And great stuff just happened over those 4 years. So that's kind of how I got into real estate. And then we'll kind of get to a point of Joe. But along the way, I want to be crystal clear to your audience. There's so many failures that Cody Hofhine did. Like, this is not unicorns and rainbows. I failed so many times. I just didn't let the failures lay me down on my back and stay on my back. I just got back up. And with every trial, challenge, and every failure was another level unlocked in Cody to have the opportunity to either be a victim or become someone better. And I always chose to become someone better.
Man. And I really, honestly, I do think it's that mindset that sets, people apart. Is everyone obviously is going to fail and stumble, but it's that, willingness just to keep pushing and maybe it's just crazy, but you're always thinking, hey, this next one is it, and so just next up. And so the other thing that I love about your story, Cody, is just the fact that you were always doing things, not necessarily for the money. It was usually just, hey, how do I get really good at and perfect this craft? Like I want to be the best at this. And then, obviously a fruit of that is going to be money sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
But, clearly that's how it was. It sounds like with Wholesaling Inc., where it was more about, hey, I just, love doing this. We're going to pour our heart and soul into this. And then, of course, the success followed. And so I actually met your business partner, Mark, in Lake Powell. We were fortunate enough to go out there. I think it was a couple years ago.
Yep.
That was my very first time going to Lake Powell, and I don't think I can ever go back because you guys completely spoiled us. That was the most incredible experience. We didn't have our kids, and I wish my wife was there. I really do. She would have absolutely loved it, but
there'll be a time and a season, my friend. We still do that. So
man, yeah, we are. And that, honestly, it's a goal that we still have. I do want to get back out there because, you guys went all the way. It was a mastermind for a couple of days. So we got to talk real estate, business, great people going, we were out on the lake all the time, obviously on a houseboat that was brand new, incredible. We had a chef there that was feeding us every 2 hours it was the greatest vacation I've had. Like that was such a cool experience. But you know, I did get to meet your business partner and I was blown away. And I think that was during the time when your mom, I believe, passed away. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. I
During
lost
that
my
time.
mom
So
2 years ago. Yeah, it's been 2 years. So that was in 21 was that mastermind, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Right in the fall. So
man. And it was such a cool, but you know, and I could tell just from Mark and obviously I know that you wanted to be there. But you know, I learned so much about you guys, had so much respect for what you guys were building it. And I believe it was right around that time that you guys had just started Joe Homebuyer.
that is correct.
Is that okay? And at that time, I'm sure you probably were just located maybe in Utah, and then it's a franchise model, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the baby growth stages.
Yeah.
Now do you want to what'd you say? You want me to catch you up on where it's at today?
Joe Homebuyer. Yeah. Like what is it? And how did you guys decide to start?
Is like our mission, BJ. Like it's like when you meet Mark, I mean, it's like you've got like this beautiful relationship of visionary integrator. My brain is always just firing. Like big ideas, I don't lack them. Yeah. Mark comes in and he's like, okay, that one's crazy. Like, let's let that one go. Let's shelf this one for a couple years. Hey, that one's good. Let's roll with this one. Yeah. It really is an incredible partnership because we cover each other in pushing each other and also putting together what's reality. So this has always been the goal, was when you have something great, I am the guy that if I have a great shirt or I bought a great pair of shoes, without fail, there's going to be 5 or 10 people in my space, in my circle, that are going to have that same shirt and those same shoes. Because when I love something, I'm a guy that shares it. Like I am that individual. And Mark, if he was in here, he'd be laughing his head off. He's like, half of my wardrobe is because Cody sold me on this stinking shirt or this whatever. I'm just that guy. And Mark is the same way too. Joe Homebuyer is the reality of we had something so good going for ourselves and we never want to share it to just ourselves. We're just not those individuals. We want to bless other people's lives like it's blessed our lives. And so we have this unique strategy process. I don't want to say like, oh man, there's so many secrets out there that we have that no one else in the world knows. YouTube exists. Everyone's out there, but we have such a different approach about real estate and how we see it and the mindset behind it and the personal development and who you need to be to really do this right. We have such a different, unique advantage on how we do this that we're like, there's too many great people out there that are looking for the right way to do this. We owe it to them. We didn't look at it as how do we make money? We looked at it as no. We're placed on this earth to bless people's lives. Like this is part of this mission. This business can bless someone just like it's blessed our lives. And so fast forward today, here we are, we're about 88, 89 franchise territories throughout the whole nation. And it is a testament that we're in sync, we're in alignment with this vision, this mission that we wanted to bless people's lives. And we have a culture here that is just felt from day one. Everyone that's part of this team has to culturally fit. I don't care how good skill set you are. Me and Mark will not sell a franchise to someone that doesn't culturally fit. Culture is 60% of the weight. So 60% of 100%. So if you don't fit culturally, it's already a no because you've already got 60% knocked against you. 40% is the skill set or the ability, like the humble mentality to be taught or already have some things and we can just add to it. But culture is everything. And it's like a family. Like people feel it from day one. And that is actually the special sauce behind Joe Homebuyer is it's growing with the right people. Could it be 250 today? I'm sure it could. But would it be protected on our culture? No, we'd lose it. You can't grow that fast and protect culture. You got to do it one at a time. And growth was great this last 12 months, but we found a way to really hone in on attracting the people that would love us. And it really has a message to repel everyone that won't be attracted to us by design. And it's been an amazing, incredible journey. And we've grown with some incredible people and the franchisees. Does it come with struggles and trials and challenges? Absolutely it does. But this is just been an incredible time for me and Mark over the last couple of years to grow Joe Homebuyer.
Man, that's awesome. That's wild though. 89.
Yeah.
You guys don't mess around. That's quick. In a 2-year period, going from 1 to 89 is massive scale. So actually, I am curious about that because I think that, you know, when you get into business, it's almost like it's never enough, you know, and you always feel like you got to keep pushing and do more and do more, you know, and, you know, we all think, oh man, if I only had $10,000 and then it's 100,000 and then it's 1 million and then it's, you know, 5 million. So it's just, you're constantly moving the goalposts. And so, but with that, what I realized, at least in our, you know, prior business, was that scaling was not what it was cut out to be in my mind. Like I thought it was just going to be this linear, you know, approach, and it was going to be awesome. And we were just going to add employees, and it was just going to be this really cool experience. And it ended up not being that, right? Like it was hard. Like scaling is one of the most difficult things. So I'm curious, like, what are some things that you guys experienced that you're like, man, I tried that, don't do that, stay clear of, you know, was there anything on that path of going from 1 to 89 that you guys are like, man, if I could do it over again, I would not do it that way?
Yeah. Going back to culture, that was a big part of it. We brought on a couple franchise members that at the beginning stages, you don't know what you don't know until it happens. And then you're like, this person doesn't fit. Like, this is not good for the brand. This is not good for when they come to the meeting and we openly talk about like blessings. And we're talking about specifically like, like enroll God as a business partner. He's the greatest business partner and he only wants 10%. Like, this is the greatest guy ever. And they're like, I don't believe in God. And you're like, this might be a weird fit. Like, I don't want it to be awkward anymore. And so, and I'm not saying you have to be a God-loving individual to be part of Joe, but there is understanding that whether you believe in God, there's the individuals, and I don't know everyone's background religiously, to be completely honest, that are part of the 88, 89 right now.
Yeah.
However, they're humble enough to know that there is a power out there. Like, there's something out there. Like, they're coachable, they're humble, they're just great individuals. So we've made mistakes by bringing on the wrong people. The other thing is thinking that everyone can scale as fast as you is probably the biggest thing that's hard. It's understanding that it's a timing issue. Me and Mark, when we first got into this, we already had it like from day one in 2015 when we partnered up to do our local business in Utah. We hired an acquisition manager, and within like 2 months, we're like, man, this is awful. Like, this person's awful. Like, let's fire him. Let's get rid of him. And then we hire the next person, and then you're like, this just isn't working right. So these are real pains. And then it wasn't until I wish I could name one specific point. However, we had the epiphany. Me and Mark were sitting down. Why is this not working? And we happened to be like, this room had a mirror. And I just remember having this epiphany, like, look in the mirror. I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Like, it's not the people you hired and fired. It's the leader that hired them and the leader that fired them that has a problem. And me and Mark, we committed from this ended up being this conversation back and forth. Also, we're like, no, we need to become better people. And it was Compound Effect. Again, what's the next step? I'm reading Compound Effect during this time. Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, he says he had like a 40-page document about the wife he wanted. And I was like, man, that's a lot of pages. And then he goes to a Jim Rohn like event, and Jim Rohn says, you can have whatever you want if you become the person that's worthy of the thing that you want. And so he's like, oh man, I'm doing this wrong. What would a woman of this caliber want in a husband? And he wrote a 40-page document on that. And then he started just becoming that individual. And he says within years, he found this dream woman, but it's because he became the person first that would be worthy of a woman of this caliber. So we knew we were probably hiring and firing C talent because me and Mark were C talent. Like attracts like. A players don't work for C leaders. A players work for A leaders. And so me and Mark knew our fastest way to success was we better start working daily, consistently, and just be working on ourselves in personal development, become A leaders. As we did that, our caliber of individuals we started hiring started getting better. Magic? No, it's just you're a mirror image of yourself. Like attracts like. And then as you got better, and if these individuals didn't want to grow with you, that's when we'd top grade and say, okay, now's the time to pull over the bus and drop you off, and let's bring on the next person. But there's been people that have grown with us all the time and that are still here with us, and they were B at the same time, and now they grew with us to A's. Now, I say that again, that's hard to say, oh, dude, I'm an A. But I say it in the sense of as we've been growing, so have them. The ones that are on the team, it's because they grew with us. If they haven't grown with us, they've been dropped off, and we've replaced them with people that are at the A level.
Yeah.
So saying some of the struggles going back, what would we do different? No one can scale instantly. So as we look at Joe Homebuyer and they come in the franchise system, yes, we tap them right into marketing. Yes, we tap them right into appointments. Yes, we tap them into getting deals. However, scaling is a process that's individualized as we get to know them a lot more, to let them know if they're ready for it. And we can start to break down with personal development where they're at in the leadership, saying, hey, be okay that you're also going to have a C grade acquisition manager, because that's all you are today, is a C grade is a leader. And so we try to grow them. And part of Joe Homebuyer, why it's winning so much, is we invest time every single week on personal development that has nothing to do with business skills, acquisitions, dispositions, marketing, nothing. We do a phone call every Thursday where it's just becoming someone better. And as they do that, this progress of attracting the right talent comes in line. It's now in sync because they are also becoming better individuals.
Wow. That's probably one of the best answers that I've heard, to be honest with you. I love so much about that, because you're right. And I realized that because obviously we've hired a lot of people over the years, over the past 15 years. And I remember my wife at one point was like, man, you go through a lot of people. Like, what is going on? Like, do you guys just stink at hiring, or like, is it you? And I'm like, oh no, it's them for sure. You know, like, oh, I just don't know how to hire. I just haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
And you're right. Then there does come a point where it happens enough times. You're like, what in the world am I doing? You know, clearly there's something wrong with me, and I need to, you know, and not necessarily like I'm a bad person or you're a bad person, but yeah, like you get to a point where you're like, man, I got to level up. At some point, something needs to give here. And so I need to figure this out, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so, and I think that's what, I think a lot of people would look at business owners, or at least I did. And I would always just think, man, they just have these incredible, they were born with all these talents and gifts, and they're whatever, you know, and they just know what to do instinctively. And they were just given these great God-given things. And then, you know, then you get into that seat and you're the business owner, and you realize, oh man, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just trying to figure this thing out. You know, some of us do a better job faking it than others, but, and then others actually do play the part. And I think with you, I know you won't say it, I will say it. I definitely see you as an A player. But I am curious, and I love that you guys have focused so much on becoming the type of person that others would be attracted to, because I've seen that too. I know exactly what you're talking about. Are there other things? I know you mentioned the Thursday meeting that you guys do. Is there anything else that you do, you know, to help you become a better leader? Or did you start doing?
Yeah. One of our models, and I'll have to share this with you for sure, and if there's something you want to share with your audience, you're more than welcome to. Me and Mark were asked this. What is it? Why do you guys win? And I think this is a question you should ask yourself, BJ. I think this is a question everyone in the audience should be listening to and writing down. Like, why do I win? That's a great question to ask ourselves. Very few times do we ask ourselves that kind of question. I think it's easy to say, why am I losing? Because when losses come, you're like, I don't want to repeat that again. That was awful. And so you start to learn from your losses. Very few people, in fact, we learned this from Kobe Bryant. Kobe, not physically, he wasn't our mentor. I don't know Kobe Bryant.
That would be cool.
But I learned this from him in the sense of he did this practice. I had to be careful there. Kobe Bryant always studied from his wins. He's like, why did we win? Because losses, that's easy to go figure out why you lost. But rarely do people study their wins. He would go in after the game, after they won, and study why did they win. And he'd find key areas like, oh, least amount of turnovers, more attempts at the free throw, more attempts of shots made in the paint, most shots made outside of the paint at the 3-point line. Defense was stellar. Like he would have these things. He's like, man, when we do this, the goal just takes care of itself. Like the W that we're looking for takes care of itself if we just monitor this. So rarely do you see a Kobe Bryant, a Steph Curry talk about winning the championship. They just focus on during practice and during the game these key things, because they know when these things happen, this takes care of itself. So as we were looking at Joe Homebuyer, for example, we had to ask the question, why are we winning? We got to study our wins. Why are we winning? Everyone should be asking this. We had 4 things come up instantly, and we have a 4P model. It's our model, but it's not any secret. I'm glad to share it. And that is purpose. We wake up every day and we know exactly what we want to achieve. That's with family and with business. I want to be crystal clear. I'm not just a business guy. My family means way more to me than Joe Homebuyer. The next one is personal development. The third one is professional development. And the fourth one is the people. So when we have our purpose in sync, why do I do what I do? Well, I'll tell you what, BJ, because you know this. I lost my mom 2 years ago. My dad's 73 years old. He's still not retired, still swinging the hammer. And so my why is I want to retire my dad. I want to retire my wife's parents. I want to send more missionaries out to go serve for the church that don't have money, because you don't get paid to go be a missionary. But it's such a game-changing moment for me in my life when I served 2 years in Honduras that I'm like, if someone really wants to go do that and they don't have the money, let me take care of it. Let me know who that name is, and I'll anonymously send money out to make sure that that mission's taken care of. Because I'm crystal clear on what I want to accomplish with my money, people can tell me to go pound sand, tell me whatever they want. And I'm like, a smile on my face, because I'm like, I still have more missionaries I got to send out. My dad's still not retired. My in-laws are still not retired. So anything can go wrong, BJ. And I don't have this mindset of like, woe is me. I'm like, I got to get better because my dad's not retired. My in-laws are not retired. More missionaries have got to go out and serve the church. Like, I have this in my mindset. So my why is crystal clear, so that when something tries to hit me off, now it doesn't mean I have my bad days. I have my bad days, but because I now have like this vision, this map out in front of me, on my bad days, I just go revisit it. Why am I doing what I'm doing? That's right. There's an 18-year-old that needs to get out and go serve 2 years. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get back in the mode. And I go. So why do you win? Professional or personal development. You got to work on yourself. And that's a daily thing. That's not once a month. That's every single day. You got to become someone better. Devote at least an hour to personal development. Professional development. Own your craft. There's so many easy ways to beat your competition. Your competition's out there doing business just for business sake. They're transactional. I'm relational. It is so easy to win your competition. You just got to own your craft. Do it better than everyone else. When you see the Joe way, everyone's like, that's different. That's different. That's unique. That's what we do. We want to be different. We want to be where people do business with us because they're like, I can't go with anyone else. They're that good. Own your craft. And then what people are you surrounding yourself with? I've been mentored my whole life since 2010. I never have stopped getting a mentor. I'm always my current, and they all become dear friends. That's the best part, is when I do mentorship, then they become dear friends. Robin Sharma for the last couple of years has been my dear mentor, the author of 5 a.m. Club, the monk who sold his Ferrari. He is phenomenal. He's one of my favorite human beings on this earth. He's been a great mentor of mine. Dan Martell is a current one that I talk to on a weekly basis with buy back your time. Why? Because I want to buy back my time. I don't want to sit in the office all day. I actually want to be with my family and find a way to do it in a way that's wholesome and allows my team to grow with their dreams inside my vision, so that I can still help them grow and become someone better, but say, hey, you take care of these things. You own these things. You're going to win big. And then allows me to buy back time to really be with my family. That's who I really want to be with.
Wow. Love all of that, man. And it's interesting. I've actually never heard that about Kobe Bryant, and I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more of that, because you're right. I mean, how often do we ever look at our wins and think, why did we win?
That's right.
Because like you and any other salesperson, it's always after the sale that you don't get, that you always analyze and try and think about, well, I did this and this wrong. And so, yeah, we're constantly, and I think it actually is negative in some ways, but, it's so important that we actually look and realize, like, what is our gift? Like, what are we really talented at? And how do we cultivate that? How do we improve, because we've been given these God-given gifts, and we need to make sure that we're using them to, parable the talents and
that's right.
And utilizing those. And I see you doing that as well, which I love. Man, this has been so good. Better than advertised, better than expected. And I don't actually know. It's about what I expected from you. So Cody, to wrap this up, typically I'll ask everyone, just a couple questions. And so, one of them being, I know that you, I'm sure, are, an avid learner and consumer of, podcasts or books or whatever the case would be. So I'm curious, if there's a book that you've read this year or recently, I know you mentioned the Darren Hardy, book at the time. Is there one that's had a big impact on you for 2023?
Yeah, 2023. Here's the beautiful thing to short answer this is read something that you need right now. Like the books that inspire me, it's because I actually need it. So when I share these books, you're going to see the flaws in my life. Like, where am I getting better? Those are the books I'm reading. And I would highly recommend everyone, because otherwise you're reading books and you're like, it's just not connecting. Well, maybe it's just not the right time for you. Maybe it's not a focus in your life. One is Atomic Habits, but I've read this now probably 4 times. And it's just getting those right habits working in your behalf so that just big things happen. These aren't big goals. These aren't big habits. It's just small, consistent habits that lead to these massive results. So I love that book for that reason. And the other ones would be because I'm studying heavily. The reason why Robin Sharma is a dear friend and mentor of mine, the reason why Dan Martell is a mentor of mine, is because I'm looking for the art of being productive versus efficient. Old Cody was efficient, meaning keep loading me up. Like I'll just do as much as stuff, like the art of doing more. I'm on the journey of the art of doing less. And that's the word productive. And so those two are very productive individuals, Robin Sharma and Dan Martell. And so that's big on my mind. So he has a book, Dan Martell, called Buy Back Your Time. And then Robin Sharma, again, the 5 a.m. Club, his principles through his storytelling is phenomenal. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, incredible. The guy is really not efficient. The guy is very productive with his time, that he's only doing the things that he knows he should be doing, and he just doesn't waste time. Like the guy's a savant when it comes to time management and energy management. So those are the books that are big in my mind, but it's because Cody Hofhine needs that in his life. So I hope that gave a good answer.
Love it. Do you do the cold plunge? This is kind of a random
I do.
question. You do?
I do a cold plunge 5 days a week. I do the sauna 5 days a week. I'm actively in the gym. Now, this is not all the case. Here's my flaws. I got so actively in business that I let this go. This is the best shape I've ever been in the life of Cody Hofhine. I've never been in this good a shape in my life, but it's because it's a huge focus of mine. Why climb this Mount Everest of business and then look back and not live long when you're at the top of the mountain looking at everything in the world and you won't even be able to enjoy the moment long because your health has declined. I want to get up there and not get up there. I want to get up there healthy where I can sit there as long as I want, not physically go up Mount Everest, but we're climbing our own Mount Everest. And I want to get up there. But more importantly, I want to bring my family along the way. I don't want to be the guy that treks this alone and then look back and say, well, where's my family? Well, you never involved them. You forgot about them. And there's a powerful quote that is, no success can compensate for failure in the home. And so I make sure that I'm bringing my family along with me. This journey is not alone. This is very much supported by an incredible wife. And we try to do everything we can to keep our kids thinking big and becoming better individuals along with me and my wife.
Man, so good. All right. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self if you could go back, let's say a decade or two? What's one big piece of advice that you would give yourself that you feel would help you get that much further?
Yeah, this is an easy one for me to answer. It would be one principle because it's very, very achievable. If someone said read 5,000 books, I'd be like, good luck. That's an awful thing to give out. Mine's very simple. Mine is Jim Rohn's greatest quote in my eyes is, you're the average of the 5 closest individuals you spend the most time with. And so I would be looking at a big picture. What do I want to accomplish in life? And that's all areas of your life. Who do I want to be spiritually? Okay. Who are the 5 best people to go learn from? Like, I would trade places with that person because they're so spiritual. Go get in their circle. And then I'd say physically fit. Who's my 5 people that I would trade places with because they're just fit people? And I'd go find those 5 people. And for business and for becoming the best dad or the best husband. And I'd put myself, and notice I carved them out because it's not 5 people make up all of those areas. It's just the 5 best in each one of those areas. I have people that are incredible at business that I would never receive advice on how to be a dad. So you just got to be careful. The biggest thing is, what 5 are you hanging out with? If you want a guaranteed way, you're the average of the 5 you hang out with. If they go to bars, you're going to go to bars. If they smoke, you're going to smoke. If they make 50 grand, you're going to make 50 grand. It's just the law of the numbers. So who are you hanging out with? And really, what do you want in life? And do you dare to put yourself in the circle with people that are in that destination you want to be at? If so, you've got an incredible journey ahead of you, and you've got a pretty, not guaranteed, but you have a pretty certain opportunity that will you'll be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
Wow. Yeah. And before the show, I know you mentioned that you love to put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you just kind of put yourself out there. You told the story about singing to Coolio in the airport just so you could hang out with them, and it worked. And obviously you got to spend an hour with Coolio, which how many people on earth can say that? Especially
not
in
anymore.
Our circle,
He's passed away since, so no one can do it now.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So cool. Yeah, man, Cody, this has been an absolute pleasure. I cannot thank you enough. This has been great for me, and it's a big reason why I do a podcast. Really, it's selfish in a lot of ways, where I get to hang out with incredible people like you and learn about how did you become so successful. And I love what you just said there, where you're like, hey, I just seek out other people that are really good at that specific thing that I'm working on. And I think I read some study that talked about like if you want your kids to succeed, if you want, like, it really is dependent on like where you live, so it does matter, like where you're raising your kids, what type of, areas that you choose to live, and then the friends that they have. And it's unfortunate that, parents start to lose that control and influence, especially during those teenage years. And we all know, like, hey, it's all about who you're hanging out with. So if it was true for them, obviously it's going to be true in life. And it's so important to reflect and realize, hey, man, maybe there is someone. And speaking of Darren Hardy, I listened to something I listen to his every morning. He has this little devotional.
Darren Daily.
Yes, exactly. The Darren Daily. And he actually had one a couple of days ago that was on like the 4 toxic type of people that you have to avoid in your life. Otherwise, they're going to hold you back. And it doesn't matter how good you try to become, they're going to hold you back. And so, again, the opposite clearly is going to be the case. And it has been for you. And so cool to see all of your successes, and hope that you guys, end up obviously, scaling to the moon. It sounds like you guys are on your way there. With 89 already in a couple of years is super cool. So thanks for coming on the show, Cody. Appreciate your time.
It's an honor. Thank you.